Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to continue building the stretched mower. Well, the lifted stretch mower project. I haven't shown it to you guys in a while because honestly I haven't had a need to bring it into the garage to do any of the work for it. Here is the stretched mower in all its glory. It has a good Carolina squat going on right now. Hopefully I will change that soon. A couple videos ago we built the drive sprockets that will connect to these axle hubs and then drop our chain drive down to our currently non-existing axle. And that's where we're going to start today. Let's run inside and I will show you exactly what that is. All right, so we're back inside. This is the drawing and it's really rough, not to scale. I just kind of hand drew it, and let's go ahead and give a rundown of what we're doing. So I have what I'm calling an outer and inner axle for both sides, the right and the left. And the halfway point that defines the outer versus the inner is the U-joint. This is representing half of my U-joint, by the way. So the outer axle is everything from the U-joint to the tire. So in this drawing right here, this is the hub. It is what's going to connect to the wheel. To add strength, I'm going to machine in a collar that will weld to the hub, and the hub will weld to our axle. Then we're going to put a flat washer just as a little spacer and to keep things from rubbing against each other. Then comes our axle blocks, which we made in a previous video. Then we have another flat washer, and then I'm going to use an E-clip. The E-clip's going to be there to keep the axle from wanting to back out. The only thing that would hold the axle in and keep it from trying to travel out of the rear assembly would just be 2 set screws, and I don't trust it. Then we're going to our U-joint. So I'm going to have to machine several different parts. I'm going to start today by doing my hub, potentially the collar, and then getting everything sized correctly so I can go ahead and cut out my outer axle and go ahead and machine a 1/4-inch key slot in it and a groove for the E-clip. After we have all the parts machined, we will be ready to weld it all together and then start the inner axle. So it's a lot of work. Let's get to it. So I am out in the garage and I have set up on this table everything I need to make my outer axles. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna make our hubs out of this 3/8 plate. It is 6 inches wide and 16 inches long. The bolt hole pattern on the hubs is a 5.5 on 5. I've got all the lugs and lug nuts that we're going to press into this outer hub. And then I have our 1-inch diameter axle. This 1-inch axle will go through our axle blocks that we made in a previous video and connect to our 1-inch U-joint. Separating the U-joints and the hubs are these little flat washers we have right here. The inside hole is 3/4 of an inch, which unfortunately is not 1 inch, so it won't fit over the axle. So we're gonna have to do a little machining on the lathe for that. And then to hold our axles in, I've got these E-clips. Got them from Lowe's. Honestly, I was really surprised Lowe's had them. Normally Lowe's doesn't have anything that I need. But took a chance, paid off. When things just don't go your way. I have my plate right here. It's 6 inches wide, and my goal was to go ahead and center drill this point right here in our standard vise. Now my vise is open as far as it can go, and I thought it was a 6-inch vise, but apparently it's just under that. So I need to figure out another way to strap this down and center drill it. The reason I'm center drilling it is this is a 6-inch wide plate, and the bolt hole pattern is 5.5 inches. So it doesn't give me a lot of room for error in my placement of the plate on the rotary table. Found the center of the plate by marking my diagonals and then my vertical and horizontal axes, so it will give me the rough center of the plate. What I'm going to do is center drill it and then drill out to 3/4 of an inch, which is the size of our calibration pin for this rotary table. That will hopefully allow me to get my bolt hole pattern centered up and have everything work the way I need it to, so I don't have a lug bolt hanging off the edge of the plate. if you look at my 3/8 plate, you'll see I have this line drawn around. Well, that's going to be the outside of my hub. But the problem was that my plate was not quite wide enough, and I'm just working with what I had. What we're going to do is take my spare bit of plate, and I'm going to weld just a little tab off the side, and then we'll go ahead and machine it to where it's nice and round. It's a little bit of a headache to have to do this, but when you're working with what you got, sometimes you have to be creative. So let's get to welding, and I'm probably not going to show it on camera because it's really not that interesting. All right, so we just got done finishing the work on the mill. It took a little bit longer than I wanted to because, well, we had to replace the head bearing halfway through because it started making a loud racket. That's really annoying, and we didn't want to finish, tearing it up. So I'll show you what we've got. We just got done machining our outer hubs. I think they turned out quite well. I still have to press the lug bolts through them, but that'll be the last step of the process. What we're going to do now is machine my 1-inch cold roll into my outer axle shaft. It's going to require a little bit of lathe work, but overall won't be too bad to do. So let's get started. the parts we made today for the outer axle. We have our little collet, our Delrin spacers, and here's our outer axle block. Let's go ahead and assemble it real quick just up here on the lathe. We machined in a groove in our axle for our E-clip. This will prevent the axle from trying to back out. So then we're gonna put our Delrin spacer on, followed by the axle block itself. Followed by another Delrin spacer. Then our collet. That's just going to add a little bit of strength and backing for our hub. We got all the machining done for all the parts for the outer axles. Now it's time to press in our lug bolts into the hubs. So let's do that and then weld everything together and this project will be done. We are pressing our lugs in using a 2.5 pound hammer because we don't want to use a big press. We are smart. That's it. So we finally got everything welded together on my outer axles. Here's one mocked up with my axle block spinning on the inside. Looks pretty good. Eventually what we'll do is we're going to add our plates to this to come out for our kingpins. Here is a axle that is 100% completed. It is still pretty hot from welding, but everything looked like it turned out good. Everything spins true when we put it in the lathe. So we're gonna call this part of the project done. If you like the build series, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, it helps me out a lot with the YouTube algorithm. And we will see you guys on the next one. Gonna say bye? Bye. Later.